Hi, can you hear me?
And to you, good day.
Oh, good day. Thank you for this interaction.
It is again our passion and our pleasure. Please proceed.
I have 3 questions if we have time. The first is the most important. It's a question about forgiveness of others and demonstrating unconditional love.
Yes.
The others are a number of close and previously trusted family members and also close friends who've not been happy for myself and or my partner about us or our life choices, perhaps jealousy to some degree.
All right, but please begin with your important question. We'll get to the others in a moment.
Okay, well, my question is that about them and how we achieve total forgiveness, that is unconditional love, for these particular people.
All right, and are you familiar with what we have recently delivered as a 5-step process for going through the eye of the needle that includes the first step being forgiveness?
Yes, I know how important it is that we must forgive them and unconditionally love them. But
well, do you understand that if you maintain a connection to things like the idea of self-incrimination or that which has in your mind trespassed, as you say, against you, do you understand that you anchor yourself to that reality?
Yes.
Well, if you understand that, then why would you want to continue to anchor yourself to a reality you say you no longer prefer? Forgiveness is literally the cutting of the chain that anchors you to a past that you say you no longer prefer. It's letting go of anything that you believe you need in order for you to move forward, so that you understand that regardless of what anyone else may have done, the idea is that you realize that you no longer prefer to connect yourself to those ideas and maintain the vibrations that are lower than you prefer to maintain, and are really willing to be free to create the reality that you prefer by snapping those chains, by cutting those ties, by forgiving and letting go and realizing that they have their own path and that it's none of your business what they choose to do with it. So that you can be free to walk your own path by not anchoring yourself to those realities, those vibrations, those frequencies, those actions that they may or may not have done in physical reality, or what you may have imagined that they have done that you see as vibrationally incompatible with you and your preferences. But as long as you anchor yourself to them, you are still choosing them. Yes,
and I think that's where my question lies, is how to deal with that. Like, if it was a past event, I can see how you can accept it's previously happened and now it's time to move on from that. It doesn't serve you anymore. But some of the behavior that we're experiencing from these people it's not just ongoing, but it has an effect on other relationships, in particular children. And so it's like an ongoing feeling of being...
All right, but remember that feelings are the result of what you believe to be true.
Yeah.
And what is it you are teaching your children in terms of how to respond to these things?
Yeah, well, the children are in effect not wanting contact because of what they're being told about.
Then maybe they are telling you something that you need to also pay attention to. Why are you maintaining a contact with something that you say you are no longer vibrationally compatible with?
Yeah.
So if you can answer that question for yourself, you will realize that perhaps whatever it is you have shared with them about your particular reality, your particular belief systems that you prefer, is not necessarily something that they may choose. And if they don't, then it's none of your business. Move on. Sure. If you get to a point where you realize that no change is forthcoming, that they're not going to make a choice to vibrationally align with you, why would you perpetuate contact with something that is not representative of the reality you prefer? That's number one. Number two is, again, if you are going to at least allow them the opportunity to consider that they might even change, you have to show them through your actions the consequences of their choices. Otherwise, you're not even actually giving them an opportunity to say, oh, she is removing herself from our reality, and therefore, if we actually do prefer to continue to have some kind of relationship with her, we're the ones that are going to have to change because she's showing us the consequences of the choices that we're making that are not compatible with what she prefers. So if you don't actually move away, you're not even giving them an opportunity to decide whether or not to change. You're only perpetuating the ideas that you find vibrationally incompatible by staying around and reinforcing that it's okay for them to keep acting the way they're acting toward you because you're willing to accept it.
Yeah.
So you have to take responsibility for your part in the creation of the perpetuation of the vibration you say you don't prefer. And that's why forgiveness is not only about forgiving them, but also forgiving yourself. That's part 2, remember?
Yes. And those that are influencing the children and other family members and other friends.
But as I said, no one is influenced unless they choose to be.
Yeah, sure.
If you really understand you are in your own reality, then the only way you can experience what you call an influence is to accept that what is being said about you is true. And then you influence yourself by matching the frequencies you're being offered that you say you don't prefer. And that's why we asked you, what are you teaching the children? Because if the children themselves recognize that they don't have to choose to experience influence from something vibrationally incompatible, then they may be showing you the way to allow yourself to recognize that you cannot be influenced by anything you don't agree with. And if other people are choosing to create agreement with something they find vibrationally incompatible, choosing to create what appears to be influence by others, again, all you can do is let them know there are other choices they could make, but only to a point where you yourself are not anchoring yourself to those realities and then allowing your vibration to diminish so that you also feel influenced when you don't have to.
Yes, thank you.
You really have to let go of things that are no longer relevant for you.
Yes, and it's that recognizing that it just doesn't serve us at all to feel.
And that's, in essence, forgiveness.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to let them have their path while you don't deny yourself your own path. You have to be true to everyone, not by being responsible for them, but by being responsible to them to be yourself, regardless of anything they may have ever done. You have to let it go. Otherwise, you are simply remaining where you say you don't wish to live.
Yeah.
Does that help?
It does. It does. And on that theme of forgiveness on the wider level, we know that there is the extreme damage to our ecosystems and our planet. Yes. With a significant contribution to that from animal agriculture and the inhumane conditions in which animals have been kept.
And therefore, what would you like to do about it? Again, forgiveness doesn't mean you can't do something about it, because if you're going to transition yourself to a reality that you prefer, you still have to take the actions that you would be taking in that reality.
Yeah.
That are representative of the reality you prefer. So how are you transforming your preferences into actual representative actions that are more reflective of the reality you prefer? What actions are you taking in that direction would be the answer.
Yeah, well, we are ethical vegans, so we are choosing not to take part in that treatment of the
That's
animal.
one step.
Yeah, but
what else could you be doing?
Well, we need to be forgiving those that are involved.
But can you also be educating? Can you also share information that demonstrates the idea that this may not necessarily be the kind of choices that you or others may wish to make? If you give them alternatives, they may choose those alternatives. Again, you can't force them to. And remember that that's not necessarily the world you live in just because you can see it.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes, I do.
But give them an option and they may take it. If they don't take it, fine. It's none of your business whether they do or not. But if you give them an option, if you give them information, if you give them education that there are alternatives and how beneficial those alternatives might be for them, then at least you are doing the most you can do to give them the option to change, the option to align with your particular perspective. But that's all you can do. But you have to take some actions if you wish to give other people a chance to change.
Yes, and we do certainly try to educate and use skills to assist people who are activists who need assistance.
All right, then you are doing what you can.
Yeah, and in the idea of forgiveness, in the theme of forgiveness, those people who are educated or do have the information and choose still to continue for profit or because it's easier to do so,
then that is representative of a reality you don't live in. Just because you can see it doesn't mean you're in it.
Yeah,
you have to understand it's like there's a glass wall between you and that reality. You can still see through the wall, they can see you, but nothing can get to you through that wall. Sure. Just keep living in the way you prefer to be living and being a living example of choices others could make should they decide to do so. Remember, you never change the world you're on. You change yourself and you shift to another already existing version of Earth that is already more reflective, bit by bit, more and more every day, of the version of Earth that you prefer to experience. But you never change the world you were on. That world will continue on its own and may be a very destructive world, but you will no longer live in it. In the years to come, you will no longer perceive it. It will look like the world you are on has changed, but it never does. You change and go to another world that already exists, that's already more reflective of the world you prefer to be on.
Oh, that's amazing. That's brilliant.
That's how it works, because everything exists at the same time. Therefore, it's only separated by frequency. This is one of the things that we are talking about in this particular transmissions monologue. More specifically, is the whole idea of how to more effectively and more consciously navigate different parallel versions of reality so that you can more consciously navigate through those versions and experience more of the kind of alternate universal realities that you prefer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else?
The final question I've got is a slightly different topic.
Yeah.
As soon as we were discussing this transmission between myself and my partner, our cat has showed immediate interest. Yes. And he has been acting as our guide in higher energy since we made big life changes and have been following our highest excitement. He's been a really big part of it.
Well, cats can see many things that humans often cannot.
Yeah, and we were wondering to what extent we may be likely to find evidence that he is an ET slipping out in and out of different dimensions and realities. So we've been dreaming about him as a different
All cats are extra-dimensionals. All cats are extra-dimensionals. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have a physical component that remains on your planet. No. But all cats have the capacity to go through a revolving door in their consciousness that allows them to tap into extra-dimensional sources of energy and information, and that's why their senses can perceive things that most humans cannot. So in that context, all cats are extra-dimensional beings, a part of which is represented by the animal you perceive physically in your reality.
Yeah, brilliant.
Now, all beings are that way. What we're saying is cats are more aware of the fact that they're that way and therefore exhibit more of the traits of being extra-dimensional beings that simultaneously coexist in many different realities, just as you do, but you're becoming aware of that, whereas cats have always been aware of that. That's their nature, that's their purpose, that's their reflection in your reality, is that everyone is extra-dimensional constantly. It's just that they're helping you become more aware of that, to tap into that more concretely, more consciously, with more awareness and more action. Yes?
Yes. Well, right. He's been playing a part a lot in our dreams during the pandemic. So we normally travel with him. And we've been stationary with him. And he's really been a big part of our dreams, including belonging to other people with a different name. And being a totally different being. He's been a big, fluffy, sort of wildly excited dog in one of our dreams. Yes. But it was really him each time in the dream. So
the consciousness of the cat will be whatever needs to be to assist you, to reflect to you what you need to know. So in that sense, cats are, to some degree on that level, what you might refer to as shapeshifters.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Good day, Bashar.
And good day to you.
Thank you very much for making yourself available in this way. I appreciate the opportunity to co-create with you.
It is, again, our passion and our pleasure to do so.
Thank you. I appreciate April and Emmy and Darryl and everybody that puts all this together. So I just wanted to share my appreciation.
We thank you and our deep appreciation to you as well for the co-creation of the interaction. Please proceed.
Thank you. The first topic I'd like to talk about today is crystals.
Yes.
You had mentioned before that you actually sculpt with crystals. And,
well, not the crystals that you understand. It's a kind of crystalline nanotechnological substance.
So it's like liquid crystal?
Similar to that idea, but different again. It is a substance that exists on a deep subatomic nanotechnological level that can take many forms according to how it is manipulated by the energy of the sculptor.
And is that also how you make the dashboards for your ships, which you also said were crystal?
It is the entire ship that is made that way.
Oh, cool.
Not just the dashboard.
And how did the Atlanteans use crystals?
They used crystals by fine-tuning them to create different effects, both for transmission of light, transmission of auditory frequencies. They understood the idea of the vibrations that are inherent in certain crystals and how to carve them so that they would be tuned to certain frequencies and allow for long-distance transmission of information and also for the production of light.
And that was a function of the way that they were shaped in carving?
Partly, yes.
Wow.
And the purity with which they were created, or mined, if you wish.
I see. And we seem to be having a surge in interaction with crystals now. Are they helping us in the Age of Awakening?
Well, again, remember that everything is a permission slip, yes?
Yes.
But they do have an inherent reflection of being a very pure form of organized information. In other words, they are recording devices. And so those that are sensitive to the vibrational frequencies of certain crystals that are arranged in certain patterns will be capable of extracting the information that has been recorded into them and also capable of imbuing them, infusing them with information in terms of their energy matrix as well.
And
so yes, they can be of great assistance at this time as a permission slip to allow a sensitive individual to heighten their sensitivity and expand their senses to access information from existence itself.
The next topic I'd like to move to is, you told us before about some animals on your planet. I think you called them zebes. And
Aziza. Aziza.
Aziza?
Aziza.
Aziza.
Are you referring to the idea of the zebra-striped whale-like creature?
No, you had talked about them living in forests, that they were most closely related to what we would think of as cats.
As cats, yes. All right. Something similar to that idea.
So I'm just curious about more about the animals that are on your planet and how you interact with them.
Well, we interact with them just fine. Thank you. We trust the synchronicity of when an interaction occurs. We don't have to seek it out. It just naturally happens. And the symbol that they represent for us becomes very apparent when and if such encounters will naturally, synchronistically occur.
Could you describe one of those?
Encounters?
Yes.
Someone may be walking along through one of the forest areas on our planet and may encounter a particular animal, if you wish, the cat-like animal that we do call a zia. And the idea is that then, knowing that that animal has a certain symbology in our collective consciousness, it would be like suddenly interacting with a portion of the collective consciousness that the animal is reflecting to us like a mirror, so that we will understand that the synchronicity of having that encounter will put us in touch with the vibration on a higher level of a portion of the collection of our entire civilization. And the purpose for that happening at that particular moment will simply reveal itself and make itself obvious as to enhance our own understanding of ourselves and give us a chance to experience a higher perspective of ourselves as it relates to the collective consciousness of our entire reality.
So they're symbols of alignment? Is that what you're saying?
All things are symbols of alignment, but the animals are, in a sense, symbols of alignment to certain very specific archetypal representations of our collective consciousness, in much the same way that yours are too. In other words, many people on your planet look at the idea, let's say, of your dog as being symbolically representative of the concept of companionship and service. You follow me?
Yes.
Therefore, when you encounter the idea of a dog through synchronicity, you are dealing with those archetypal levels of the idea of connection, relationship, companionship, and service to society.
I see.
And therefore, depending upon what the animal represents as part of the collective consciousness, as its archetypal representation, that's what you would be dealing with as an energy at the moment of that encounter. Now, that can simply unfold in a variety of specific ways, but that's the generalized idea.
Sure. Sure, I understand. Thank you.
All right.
I've been very engrossed and spent a lot of time with the Atlantis, the Orion, and then the Orinoco transmissions that you gave us at the end of last year.
Yes.
You were talking about it's the time to remember with Atlantis, and that we are the ones who are resurrecting a similar lifestyle to what they enjoyed in Atlantis. And I was very excited to hear that you suggested that these stories be kept alive, or that these pieces of information be kept alive in story. And so I have been very excited and writing a story about who we were in Atlantis and who we are now and how all those things fit together.
All right. How exciting.
It's the most fun I've ever had writing the book.
Yeah.
The characters seem to have a life of their own, and that I just discover rather than create.
Yes.
It's really a fun experience.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to share with me in terms of if there's something particular that would be the most powerful to get into the book? Mostly I'm using it as the opportunity to share the message of who we were in the past and who we are and where we're going in the future as, those who are here to resurrect.
All right. Well, we will leave that mostly up to you. But again, you will find that in the so-called explanation of how you can meditate on the parallel reality of the United States of Atlantis, there may be information in there for you that will help expand your understanding of your connection and expression of that idea and that concept.
I see. Very nice. And then I was curious about the Peruvian, the ancient Peruvian stone buildings. Are those built from the people that left the Atlantis area after it was destroyed?
Yes. This is why most people on your planet, while they have this idea that Atlantean architecture back then looked more Grecian, that is not the case. It actually looked more Aztecan, because Aztec and Incan architecture are remnants of Atlantean architecture.
And so are most of the Aborigines that are remaining on the planet today, are they descendants of the people that departed from Atlantis before it was destroyed?
Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. Some come also from the earlier civilization that you typically call Lemuria as well, and other civilizations that have been on your planet that you are simply no longer aware of because they have faded into your history.
I see. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And if there's anything else that you think would be helpful for me to know about while I'm writing, both in the past idea of us.
Your higher mind will inform you of it. And again, you can take advantage of what we will explain in the upcoming description of how you can meditate on different parallel realities.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate you.
And you as well.